Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have The Legend of Valkyrie, an iconic Namco classic. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Namco, The Legend of Valkyrie, or Valkyrie no Densetsu, released to Japanese arcades in 1989. So this title is very much kind of your multi-dimensional scrolling action game with some shoot-'em-up elements. It's very, very similar to titles like Pocky and Rocky. So if you happen to be fans of those type of games, this is one I highly encourage you to check out. So this is the original Japanese ROM. There was an English translated version of this particular game, but that was included on the Namco Museum Volume 5 that released for the PlayStation in 1997. So keep in mind, some knowledge of Japanese is helpful with this release, but you might be able to still get through it even without. So with that said, this is a title I've had a lot of fun with, and I do recommend it, as I said, especially if you're a fan of games like Pocky and Rocky. So let's throw some coins in the machine and get started. So as I mentioned, you can play this game with 2-player, and that's the way I highly encourage you to do so. So here we're basically receiving the guidance from this goddess here to save this land by collecting golden seeds, as it were. So we have our two characters, Valkyrie, and then her lizard companion, Zandora. The two characters both have kind of a close-range melee attack that is most useful for deflecting enemy projectiles back, or just canceling them out rather. And also, we have a long-range shot. So for Valkyrie, it's this kind of magic bolt, and Zandora kind of throws out these almost mudball looking projectiles. But it's possible to upgrade both characters' weapons throughout the course of gameplay, and we'll see that very shortly. So we kind of come to our first mini-boss here, this Oni that's antagonizing that poor villager. So this part here is relatively straightforward to figure out what you're supposed to do, but there's one of them that's throwing fireballs, and once we see his particular fireball, we can take him out. So this game does also have some platforming elements, so there is a jump button that you use to get around, and in some parts of the game, that's actually one of the things I find to be the most frustrating. Following that kind lady, she basically thanks us for saving her and gives us this Sword of Light, which is our first upgrade to our shot. So the way that works is it just upgrades our shot into this like magic ball. It has a little bit more distance, wider range, and hits for a fair bit of damage. But all the various weapons in this game will ultimately run out after a set amount of usage, and you'll need to collect additional ones. In this hut here, this one you could actually easily miss. We've got this witch, which will give us the first of the 3 magic spells that we can collect in this game. So you might see at the bottom of the screen there, so we have a health bar, and now we've got those almost bubble-like orbs. So if you hold down your attack button, you'll bring up your magic menu, and you can activate the magic menu. The first spell we get is Duplicate. As long as you have magic, you can keep on duplicating, and we can have all these characters running around, which is great, but you don't want to use it at that point. So there are some crystal trees and certain enemies that will drop these rainbow orbs that we can collect to get magic. The reason why you don't want to spend it all right here is the Shopkeeper. So throughout the course of the game, we'll come across this Shopkeeper here, and he sells items. So there's the shield, the sword, and the trident, and depending on which one, they have different effects. So I'll take the shield, and you can see it went into my inventory right above the character there. Now, Zandora went and bought the sword. We'll still have our main shot until these expire, but when they do expire, we'll move to the next item in our inventory. Kind of neat, but it makes item management kind of difficult, as you might just keep on stacking on all these items that you don't get to for a while. It'd be nice if you could kind of just rotate that around to the particular item you wanted to use next. So here's a part where the platforming gets a little bit trickier, but I also love the way that the background scrolls away, kind of giving that really awesome feeling of height to our game. So there are also, throughout the course of the gameplay, these chests, and these chests will contain either like gold or items, or worst case scenario, additional enemies, like kind of like a trap chest. Along those lines, if we can make it without, although it's kind of tough to not hit that door there, there's actually a chest back behind this tower as well. We find ourselves fighting this first boss, this two-headed dragon that, with 2 players especially, goes down very quickly. So you have to hurriedly gather the money, because if you don't, we encounter our first golden seed, and there's a little bit of story scenes that go on here. And there's also various spirits that we collect the help of as well throughout the course of the gameplay. And bam, we fall to the next stage. So that's basically the Legend of Valkyrie served up for your enjoyment. So this sign here is telling us like that we can go one way for a short path, or the other way for a more difficult path. But we also have the ability to, of course, do some to buy some stuff from the shopkeeper first. I'll pick up another trident. So I've got 2 tridents in my inventory. I'll continue with that after the shield that I'm using right now runs out. That shield gave me this awesome wide arc that is really great for taking out enemies. It's like actually might be one of my like favorite, although I think the weapon that Zandora has is probably better. It's this like sword here that's actually about to fall into the lava. Or I guess not my lava at this point, it's just off the cliff. That kind of hones around on like the enemies. Still, this like arc just is like so fun to use. So throughout the course of the gameplay, we'll have stages where there's more challenging platforming. There's places where there's hidden like walls and passageways to traverse through, and those are necessary to acquire our other spells, so that's something to watch for. And really, it's just a well designed, like fun game. The music is good. I love some of the animations that are present. You didn't get to see it in like the first stage, but there's actually quite a few animations for these 2 characters. So in situations where you get crushed by boulder or some other type of enemy, then you got a flattened animation like here that's just cute. Shocking animations when your character dies. There's a neat animation where they just become an angel, and that's actually an important thing to note. Is if you continue in that brief time frame before you rise all the way out of the screen, you'll continue in the same spot. Otherwise, you'll you'll be sent back to the continue screen and ultimately start from a checkpoint. So that's something to be careful of gameplay-wise. You don't want to reset yourself if you don't if you can avoid it. So in an emulator like this, it's easy enough to do, but in the case of an original arcade, you would have had difficulty putting coins into the machine before you ultimately got a game over. So this is definitely a part where the game is easier 2-player, but it's kind of tricky. It's like, where are we supposed to go next? So when moving platforms like this is where the platforming gets to be trickier. If you're playing 2-player and one character falls, the other character can potentially make it to the boss and carry you through those sections. So that's one advantage to playing 2-player, but it's just a fun game to play as a co-op. So as far as minus flavors are concerned, the biggest frustration is just, especially later in the game, some of that platforming that you saw just gets frustrating. Then my other part that I just don't like about the game is there's no easy way to manage your inventory. You just it's first in, first out, so even if you buy something awesome that you're looking forward to using, it might be a while before that comes back up in your rotation. And some of the items have a really short lifespan, like the bombs, for example. You can go through those really, really fast. But as far as the plus flavors are concerned, I just love the really cute presentation this game has. All the characters, the sprites, the animations, and indeed some of the animation with the stages themselves. Some of them aren't too detailed, but some of what they do with the scrolling and the animation of the game itself, I think just comes across as really well done and well executed. It also has some cute music, and this is a really fun title to play co-op. So, there you have it. The Legend of Valkyrie, Valkyrie no Densetsu, served up for your enjoyment. Definitely a recommendation from the chef. This one's just a lot of fun, and I've been glad to experience it. It's kind of disappointing that this one did not see a wider release in the Western territories until more recently. So, that just about brings us to the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you later.